Ladies and gentlemen, life has a curious way of testing us. It places obstacles in our path, trials in our journey, and storms in our season. And when those storms arrive, our first instinct is often to broadcast them, to share every hardship, every frustration, every tear, hoping that someone else will carry the weight for us. But here's the truth. Telling the world your problems does not lighten the load. It magnifies it. It does not earn you respect. It erodes it. You see, people are moved not by the size of your struggles, but by the strength of your response. The world is not inspired by complaints. It is inspired by courage. So today I invite you to shift your perspective. Instead of announcing your wounds, learn to display your wisdom. Instead of spreading your burdens, let your resilience be the message. Because the greatest leaders, the strongest individuals, and the most admired souls are not those who cried the loudest, but those who stood the tallest. If you want to create influence, if you want to build respect, if you want to inspire others and yourself, then you must rise above the urge to tell your problems and instead show your power. There is a strength in silence that few ever learn to master. Most people confuse silence with weakness, but silence is not weakness. Silence is discipline. It is the power to hold back when every impulse tells you to speak out. It is the ability to remain steady when your emotions are begging to overflow. And it is the dignity of knowing that not every thought, not every struggle, not every wound needs to be shared with the world. Have you noticed that when someone constantly announces their problems, their influence begins to shrink? At first, people may listen. At first, they may even show concern. But over time, sympathy turns to fatigue, compassion turns to avoidance, and their voice loses weight. Why? Because they traded their dignity for momentary relief. They chose exposure over composure, and in doing so, they weakened their own authority. Dignity is built not in the moments when life is easy, but in the moments when life is heavy. When you have every reason to break, and yet you choose to remain composed. When the storm within is fierce, but you stand tall without broadcasting every drop of rain. That's when people begin to respect you. That's when your presence begins to carry weight. Not because you pretended life was perfect, but because you showed that life's imperfections could not break your spirit. Now, don't misunderstand. Silence does not mean isolation. It does not mean you carry every burden alone. It means you choose wisely where to place your words and who to place them upon. It means you recognize that your life is not a public complaint box, but a private workshop where problems are turned into progress. You can share with mentors, with trusted friends, with those who can help you climb, but you do not shout your struggles to the masses hoping for validation, because the crowd cannot heal you, but your discipline can. Think of the people you admire most. Are they the ones who constantly complained? Or are they the ones who bore their battles with a certain quiet strength and then emerged stronger, wiser, more resilient? There is a reason why history remembers the strong in silence. Because silence preserves dignity, and dignity creates legacy. Let me tell you something important. Dignity is not given, it is earned. It is earned every time you choose restraint over reaction. It is earned every time you let your results speak louder than your excuses. It is earned every time you decide that your story will be one of triumph, not one of endless tragedy. And here's the paradox. You may think silence hides you, but in truth it amplifies you. Because when you remain silent about your problems, the world doesn't see your pain. They see your poise. They don't witness your complaints. They witness your composure. And when they finally see your results, your victories, your breakthroughs, they respect you tenfold more because they know you carried it with dignity. So let me give you a principle to live by. Don't tell people your problems. Show them your progress. Don't give them your excuses. Give them your example. Don't let your words diminish your dignity. Let your silence magnify your strength. Here's what happens when you practice silence. You protect your energy. Every time you complain, you leak power. Every time you announce your struggles to people who cannot solve them, you empty yourself. But when you stay composed, when you keep your challenges guarded and your mind focused, you conserve your strength for the real work, finding solutions, building resilience, creating change. Silence is not just about what you withhold. It's about what you protect. You protect your dignity, you protect your energy, you protect your vision, and ultimately you protect your influence because people are drawn to strength, not sorrow. They are drawn to those who rise, not those who constantly fall. Now, I am not saying never ask for help. Asking for help is wisdom, not weakness. But help must be sought with intention, not desperation. You don't share your problems with everyone. You share them with the few who can guide you, lift you, or walk with you. That's the difference between seeking counsel and seeking attention. One builds you, the other drains you. Imagine two people. One shares every problem they face. Every day they tell the world how tough life is, how unfair the system is, how cruel circumstances have been. The other person faces just as many problems, maybe more, but they speak little of them. Instead, they work quietly, persistently, until one day the world sees their achievement and says, how did they do it? That second person carries dignity. That second person has influence, and that second person earns respect not by words, but by action. Silence is not a cage, it is a fortress. It shields your dignity from being diminished. It gives you the patience to endure. It gives you the time to think clearly. It gives you the posture of a leader even when life is pulling you down. And remember this, people may forget your complaints, but they will never forget your composure. They may not recall every detail of your problems, but they will always remember the way you carried yourself through them. Did you complain or did you conquer? Did you whine or did you win? Those choices define the respect you command. So the next time you feel the urge to announce your problems, pause. Ask yourself, will these words weaken my dignity or strengthen it? Will they make me smaller or greater in the eyes of others? And more importantly, will they drain me or discipline me? Choose silence when silence will serve your dignity. Speak only when your words will bribe. Solutions, not sorrow. Because in the end, silence is not about holding your tongue, it is about holding your power. And when you hold your power, you hold your dignity. And when you hold your dignity, you hold the key to influence, respect, and legacy. So let us carry our battles with strength. Let us endure our storms with dignity. Let us rise quietly and let our victories do the talking. For silence strengthens dignity, and dignity, my friends, strengthens everything. Every day you wake up, you are handed a precious allowance, not of money, not of time, though those are important too, but of energy. Think of it as a currency that fuels every decision, every conversation, every step you take. And just like money, it can be invested wisely, bringing you returns, growth, and advancement, or it can be wasted foolishly, leaving you bankrupt of strength, drained of focus, and empty of progress. You see, your energy is one of the most valuable resources you own, yet so many people spend it recklessly. They pour it into arguments that don't matter. They waste it complaining about circumstances they cannot control. They squander it telling their problems to people who can't solve them. And at the end of the day, they wonder why they are exhausted but unfulfilled, busy but unproductive, drained but not advanced. Let me tell you something fundamental. The way you use your energy determines the quality of your life. Energy spent carelessly weakens you. Energy invested wisely strengthens you. Energy wasted on complaints brings no return. Energy invested in solutions multiplies itself. Think of it like a bank account. If you keep making withdrawals without ever making deposits, eventually the account runs dry. And so it is with your energy. Every time you dwell on negativity, every time you indulge in gossip, every time you replay your problems to people who cannot help, you are making withdrawals. B. Oot, every time you work toward your goals, every time you read a good book, every time you exercise discipline, every time you nurture meaningful relationships, you are making deposits. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is not that one has more problems than the other. It is that one has learned to invest energy in progress while the other continues to waste it in pity. Let's pause here and reflect. How many hours, how many days have been wasted because of misdirected energy? Energy poured into frustration instead of focus. Energy spent defending excuses instead of building solutions. Energy given to unworthy conversations instead of purposeful actions. If you add it up, the cost is enormous. And the sad truth is, most people never realize that their life has been robbed, not by thieves, not by enemies, but by their own careless spending of energy. But here's the good news. You can turn it around. You can decide today that your energy will no longer be thrown into wasteful patterns. You can decide to become a wise investor of your daily strength, and once you do, the returns will astonish you. Imagine this. Instead of talking endlessly about your problems, you channel that same energy into learning a new skill. Instead of arguing with someone who refuses to understand, you redirect that energy into building your business, your craft, your health. Instead of worrying about what you cannot control, you invest your energy into what you can control. Suddenly, progress begins to compound. Doors begin to open. Momentum builds. Why? Because energy invested multiplies itself. This is why the successful seem to achieve so much with the same 24 hours. It's not that they have more time than anyone else. It's that they have learned the sacred discipline of energy investment. They don't pour it into wasteful complaints. They pour it into constructive action. They don't spend it fighting battles that don't matter. They invest it into victories that will matter for years to come. Let me give you a principle. Energy, like money, always seeks a return. The only question is, are you wasting it or investing it? Wasteful energy returns to you as regret, as weakness, as lost time, but invested energy returns as strength, as growth, as achievement. Now let's bring this home. Think about your own life. Who do you give your energy to? What conversations drain you? What habits consume you? What environments steal from you? And more importantly, what returns are you getting from them? If the answer is little or nothing, it's time to redirect, because the moment you start guarding your energy, everything in your life changes. Guard it like treasure, because it is treasure. Don't give it to everyone. Don't give it to everything. Don't pour it into complaints, gossip, or fear. Instead, invest it in your vision, your health, your relationships, your growth. Some may say, but if I don't talk about my problems, where does all that energy go? It goes into solving them. It goes into building resilience. It goes into creating a future so strong that your past no longer matters. It goes into transforming your pain into power. That's the true art of investment. And here's another truth. Investing your energy doesn't just change your results, it changes your identity. When you begin to invest in discipline, you start to see yourself as disciplined. When you invest in courage, you start to see yourself as courageous. When you invest in growth, you start to see yourself as someone who is advancing. And soon your self-image rises, your confidence grows, and your influence expands. Wasting energy keeps you small. Investing energy makes you great. So what's the lesson? Simple. Stop giving your energy to what weakens you. Stop feeding habits that drain you. Stop pouring power into places that bring no return. And start today, right now, to channel your strength into what builds, what uplifts, what multiplies. Because here is the ultimate truth. You cannot control the storms of life, but you can control where you place your energy during those storms. And if you place it wisely, you will come out not weaker, but stronger. Not broken, but built. Not defeated, but victorious. So my challenge to you is this: treat your energy like wealth. Guard it, direct it, multiply it, because every day you are either wasting it or investing it, and the outcome of your life depends on that choice. Energy wasted is energy lost forever, but energy invested, that is energy that will echo into tomorrow, into your future, into your legacy. Choose investment, choose growth, choose progress, and let your energy build the life you were meant to live. Life has a way of introducing us to teachers we never asked for. Some come in the form of mentors, some come in the form of books, and some come in the form of hard, relentless problems. Yes, problems. And while most people spend their lives trying to avoid them, ignore them, or broadcast them, the wise have learned a secret. Problems are not meant to be advertised. They are meant to be studied. They are not punishments. They are teachers. Every problem you face carries with it a lesson, a message, a blueprint for growth. Yet many miss the lesson because they are too busy telling the world about their suffering. They shout their pain instead of listening for the wisdom it brings. They use their problems as advertisements for pity instead of using them as classrooms for progress. And because of this, they repeat the same struggles again and again. Think about it. When you sit in a classroom, your job is to listen, to learn, to extract the principles that will help you advance. If you spent the entire lesson announcing to the class how difficult the subject is, how hard the questions are, and how unfair he test feels, you would walk away with nothing but frustration. And yet, isn't that exactly how most people treat their problems? They talk about them endlessly, but never pause to study them. Here's the truth. Every problem has something to teach you, if only you would stop advertising it and start analyzing it. Let me illustrate. When you face financial struggle, the problem is not there to shame you. It is there to teach you about discipline, about planning, about earning, about stewardship. When you face relationship conflict, the problem is not there to humiliate you. It is there to teach you patience, communication, forgiveness, self-awareness. When you face failure in business, the problem is not there to crush you. It is there to teach you about resilience, creativity, adaptation, strategy. But here is the tragedy. Too many people turn these teachers into billboards. They use their struggles as a way to seek sympathy instead of solutions. They spend their days telling anyone who will listen about how life has mistreated them. They trade the classroom for the stage, and they perform the drama of their problems instead of studying the wisdom of their problems. And because they chose to advertise instead of learn, they graduate from nothing. You must decide, will your problems be your teachers or will they be your advertisements? When you treat them as teachers, you grow. You become wiser, you become stronger. You emerge with tools, principles, and insights that you did not have before. When you treat them as advertisements, you shrink, you weaken, you invite pity instead of respect, and you leave yourself unprepared for the next lesson life is about to bring. Let me give you a principle. Life repeats the lesson until you learn it. If you ignore the teaching inside your problem, life will bring you the same problem again, often in a louder and harsher form. Why? Because the purpose of the problem is not to punish you, it is to prepare you. But if you keep advertising it instead of learning from it, the preparation never happens. Consider the oak tree. Before it can grow tall and strong, it must push through the soil, that resistance, that darkness, that pressure. It is not there to stop the tree. It is there to strengthen its roots. If the tree could talk, maybe it would complain about the weight of the dirt. But if it did, would the soil suddenly move away? No. The problem must be endured, studied, and mastered. And once the tree rises above the ground, the soil becomes the very foundation that nourishes it. And so it is with you. Your problems are the soil of your strength. They are not there for you to cry about, but to grow through. Now, does this mean you cannot share your struggles at all? Of course not, but sharing should be purposeful, not performative. You share with a mentor so they can guide you. You share with a trusted friend so they can encourage you. You share in a way that seeks solutions, not sympathy. That is wisdom. But shouting your problems to the masses, hoping for attention, that is not wisdom. That is advertising. And advertising your problems does not bring growth. It only brings temporary relief, followed by lasting weakness. The successful, the respected, the admired, these are not people who never had problems. No, they had plenty, but they treated each one like a teacher. They asked, what is this here to teach me? What lesson is hidden inside this struggle? What strength is being forged in me right now? And because they asked the right questions, they extracted the right answers. The unsuccessful, on the other hand, asked the wrong questions. Why me? Why is life so unfair? Who will feel sorry for me? And because they asked the wrong questions, they got the wrong answers. They got pity instead of progress, comfort instead of growth. Here's the shift you must make. Don't use your problems as a megaphone. Use them as a mirror. Don't let them be your advertisement. Let them be your education. Because once you learn the lesson, you rise above the problem. Once you embrace the teacher, the problem no longer owns you. Let's make it practical. The next time you face a problem, pause. Before you tell anyone, ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What strength is this building in me? What wisdom is hidden here? What will I learn from this that I can carry into my future? And once you have the answer, hold it tight. Because that answer, that lesson, is the treasure that will turn your pain into progress. And let me leave you with this thought. Nobody respects an advertisement of problems. But everybody respects a testimony of triumph. People are not inspired by the size of your struggle. They are inspired by the strength of your growth. When you learn from your problems, you gain wisdom. When you gain wisdom, you gain influence. And when you gain influence, you gain the ability to inspire others who are facing their own storms. So, my friends, embrace your problems. Sit in their classroom. Listen to their lessons. Extract their wisdom. Do not waste your breath advertising them, because problems are teachers, not advertisements. And if you honor them as teachers, they will give you a future worth advertising, not because of the problems you had, but because of the person you became. Respect is not something you demand. It is something you earn. It is not handed to you because of your title, your wealth, or your words. Respect comes from something far deeper. It grows in the soil of your character, and the water that nourishes it is resilience. People may admire your talent, they may enjoy your charm, they may even be entertained by your personality, but they respect your resilience. They respect the fact that you did not collapse when life tried to break you. They respect that when you were knocked down, you got back up. They respect that when storms came, you didn't beg the world for pity, but you stood tall and endured. Resilience is the quiet strength that builds loud respect. Let's talk about resilience. It is the ability to bend without breaking, to hurt without quitting, to suffer without surrendering. It is the spirit that says, this is not the end of me. I may be tested, I may be delayed, I may be wounded, but I am not finished. Resilience is the invisible armor that separates those who inspire from those who merely complain. Think of the people you hold in the highest regard. Are they the ones who never face challenges? Of course not. They are the ones who faced enormous challenges but refused to let those challenges define them. They were resilient. And because of their resilience, they became worthy of respect. The world does not give respect freely. It observes. It watches how you handle pressure, how you respond to hardship, how you carry yourself when things don't go your way. The world listens less to your words and more to your endurance. And the more resilient you are, the more the world begins to recognize your strength. Here's a truth worth remembering. Your struggles do not diminish you. Your surrender does. Your trials do not strip away your dignity. Your complaints do. But your resilience, your ability to endure and keep moving forward, that is what builds your reputation, your respect, your influence. Now let me give you a principle. Respect is not grown in times of comfort, it is grown in times of crisis. Nobody respects someone because they had an easy journey. People respect the fighter who survived the storm, the worker who persisted through poverty, the leader who carried their people through dark seasons. Respect grows where resilience is proven. So how do you cultivate resilience? You cultivate it by choosing strength over surrender. You cultivate it by telling yourself, this may be hard, but it is not final. This may hurt, but it will not destroy me. This may slow me down, but it will not stop me. Resilience is not the absence of pain. It is the refusal to let pain have the final word. Let's be clear. Resilience is not about pretending everything is fine. It is not about putting on a fake smile and denying reality. No, resilience is about acknowledging the challenge and still choosing to stand. It is about facing the storm head on and declaring, I will not be defeated here. When you show resilience, you build credibility. People may not understand all the details of your struggle, but they can see your strength. And that strength commands respect. You don't have to announce your hardships. The way you walk through them speaks louder than any words. Let me ask you, what do you want people to say when they think of you? Do you want them to say, he always complained, she always gave up, they never endured? Or do you want them to say, that person had strength, that person stood tall, that person refused to break? Because that's what respect sounds like. It is the testimony of your resilience. Now here's the paradox. Respect that comes from resilience is not just external, it's internal. When you prove to yourself that you can endure, you begin to respect yourself more. And self-respect is the foundation of all other respect. If you cannot respect yourself, how will others respect you? But when you know you've walked through fire and came out stronger, when you know you've been tested and not destroyed, you stand taller, you move with confidence, you radiate strength, and others can feel it. Resilience teaches you that no problem is permanent, no failure is final, and no challenge is unconquerable. It shows you that storms pass, wounds heal, seasons change, and with every test you become stronger. And the stronger you become, the more respect you command, not by asking for it, but by embodying it. Let me give you a story. Imagine two men working side by side. One encounters hardship and he complains, he blames, he quits. The other encounters hardship, and he endures. He works quietly, he persists, he refuses to give in. Years later, who is respected? Who is admired? Not the one who cried the loudest, but the one who stood the strongest. Respect grows where resilience lives. So the lesson is simple but powerful. If you want respect, build resilience. Don't look for the easy way out. Don't beg for sympathy. Don't advertise your pain. Instead, carry it with strength, endure it with patience, and overcome it with determination. People may not always cheer for you in the moment, but they will respect you for a lifetime. And here's something beautiful. Resilience doesn't just grow respect with others. It inspires resilience in others. When people watch you endure, they say to themselves, if they can do it, maybe I can too. Your resilience becomes a light in someone else's darkness. Your endurance becomes someone else's courage. And in that moment, respect turns into influence. So let me remind you, storms will come, struggles will test you, life will try to break you. But in every hardship lies an opportunity, not just to survive, but to build resilience. And with every ounce of resilience you display, you are growing something priceless: respect. Respect grows not from the words you speak, but from the battles you survive, not from the titles you hold, but from the tests you endure, not from the comfort you enjoy, but from the resilience you show when life is anything but comfortable. So stand firm, stay strong, endure with dignity, because respect grows through resilience, and resilience, my friends, is the seed of greatness.